Welcome to Decoding Mental Health. This channel is dedicated to breaking down the complexities of mental health in a simple and accessible way. We explore the latest insights, provide practical tips for managing mental health, and create a space for open conversation around mental health. Whether you're looking to understand anxiety or stress or other common mental health challenges, this channel offers resources, expert advice, and support to help you navigate your journey. Join us every Monday for a new video, and on Thursday we'll tune in on Thursdays and we'll discuss all the things that the Monday topics went over. First of all, we wanted to start off and say, I want to say thank you to everybody who's joining me tonight. Um, Thank you for being here. One of the first things that we want to discuss mental illness, mental health, and mental wellness. People think that they are all the same, but they aren't. They're really very different. Mental illness is diagnosed by a physician and is usually managed with medication and therapy and also with social supports. Mental health talks about emotional and psychological well being. And everyone has mental health just like everyone has physical health. And in order to keep your mental health pristine, you have to have health maintenance. So you have to do things that keep your mental health going and good, such as ways to prevent anxiety and stress. And mental wellness is not just the absence of mental illness. It's about maintaining your mental health and all the things that go into maintaining that mental health. One of the biggest hindrance that most people have to a good mental health is they assume that mental health is separate and apart from your physical health. They assume that when you talk about wellness and physical health, that they're two separate entities and they're not the same. Physical health and mental health all goes together, and when one is deficient, the other is usually deficient. That brings us to a term we call eudaimonia, and eudaimonia means overall wellness. It's a Greek term, and it means well-being. Originally, the term was just thought to be about physical health, but as times go on, we understand that holistic care, your whole body, your whole being is affected by your mental and your physical health. So the term has expanded to mean all uh, facets of your health. So that would be your physical health, your body, your psychological health, which is your mind, your psychosocial health, which is the environment you live and work and play in, and your professional health, which is your job or where it is you go to school. And depending on how uh, those four coincide with each other determines how healthy the individual is. You can't have good physical health without good mental health or psychosocial health or professional health. They all are interconnected, they all relate to each other. And how you balance those four determines how healthy or how happy the overall person is. We have a worksheet called the 4 P's of Wellness Worksheet. And what this worksheet does is it helps you look at the four different domains of the 4 P's of wellness: the physical, the psychological, the psychosocial, and the professional. And it allows you to look at those domains and you score yourself in each of those domains. Based on where you are in those domains, it lets you know what the level of your overall holistic health is. So if you have a 5 in your physical health, but a 4 in your psychological health, and a 3 in your psychosocial health, and a 1 in your professional health, you're imbalanced because the scores are all different. They're all over the place. They aren't congruent, and you're only as healthy as the lowest score that you have, which would be the 1 in your professional health. And it's not possible for you to rise above into additional into an additional level until you can take care of your needs at the very basic level. The 4 P's of wellness is based on Maslow's hierarchy of need. And what that means is that um, it goes from 1 to 5, 1 being your very basic needs, and 5 being um, your the highest level of contentment or self-esteem that you can obtain in your life. And so you can't go from you can't be at a level 5 in your physical health, but at a 1, 2, or 3 in the other domains. That means that your health is imbalanced. So it's important to keep everything in balance. And what the assessment tool allows you to do is it allows you to see which area you have the imbalance in, and then you can work on trying to make that domain stronger so that you can get healthier. The one thing to remember about the assessment tool is that it is basically impossible at every stage of your life for you to be in complete balance all the time. That's just not how life works. Um, Equilibrium is always in effect. So our life is fluid. It's not concrete. So it's always up and down. It's always moving. It's always ever changing. So it's impossible for at every single time in your life for your life to be completely balanced. And the form that is not for you to obsess over being completely balanced. The form is to allow you to see what's going on at any time, at a certain time or certain period in your life, in order for you to be able to get yourself in balance. Because sometimes it's not your physical health or your psychological health that's causing you to imbalance. It might be your psychosocial health, which is where you live, your environment. For instance, if you have good physical health and you have a good job, but in your home you're a victim of domestic violence, um, then that victimization will impact your psychological, your mental health, and most time it affects your physical health. Because if you're a victim of domestic violence, then a lot of times you're subjected to physical harm, and of course, if you're subjected to physical harm, that has to do with your mental. And in addition, that also has to do with how you work. Because if you're a victim of domestic violence and you are going through physical harm, when you get to work, if you're injured, if you're hurt, then it'll be difficult for you to be able to complete the task or the duties of your job because you're injured physically. And then also, mentally, you're not able to focus and to function in a way that's conducive to doing a good job at work. So the 4 P's of wellness really is a way for you to look at your life and to figure out how to get everything in balance. Even though the 4 P's of wellness are very important and all the pieces are interconnected and um, they play a part in how you are overall, I believe that the probably the foundation of the 4 P's will be the mental health aspect. When your mental health is challenged, it's difficult for you to be able to be physical healthy sometimes because um, you may not have the energy or the wherewithal to see after your physical health, or you may not have the energy or the wherewithal to leave an abusive relationship that you're in, or you may not have the energy or the wherewithal to seek a new job that's not paying you enough. So when your mental health is compromised, I believe it has a bigger impact on the other three P's of wellness than the than all the other P's together. They are all interconnected, but without the mental health aspect, without a good, solid mental health, it's difficult to be able to accomplish the P's in the other four domains. Um, some of the common challenges to our mental health that we experience every day is anxiety and stress. Anxiety and stress is usually used interchangeably, but they're really kind of different. Anxiety talks about an internal force that goes on. It's an autonomic response. And what that means is that you aren't aware. As you start to get anxious, your blood pressure increases, your breathing increases, peristalsis increases, the fight or flight response increases, and you don't have any control over that. That's an internal and autonomic response. Stress is different. Stress comes from an external source. And so it's something that from the outside of you that causes your stress. Um, for example, you're driving down the street and you get a flat tire. Now you're stressed because of the flat tire. Where that where that flat tire causes you anxiety is that morning when you get the flat tire. When you get the flat tire, your boss tells you had told you previously that if you were late for work again, that you were going to be fired. So that stressful event has now triggered an internal anxiety response and has triggered an internal anxiety response. Anxiety and stress are really important because the U.S. Surgeon General says that anxiety and stress are the number one causes of work related injuries. We know the reason that happens is because when you're stressed and anxious, sometimes you aren't able to pay attention like you need to. So things happen, and it can be cause you to not pay attention to what's going on at work and potentially have a accident at work. Also, what we know about um, uh, anxiety um, is that when anxiety goes untreated um, or isn't relieved in a timely manner, it can cause people to potentially harm themselves or commit suicide. It shows that 70% of all people who attempt to suicide, they have an anxiety related disorder. Another common mental health challenge for people is occupational burnout, and that just means burnout at your job. Um, when you are burned out at work, it's difficult for you to do the task that you're supposed to do at work. And it's also difficult for you to leave work and to be productive at home because that burnout has taken taken such a toll on you mentally and physically. So occupational burnout is a really big thing. Another thing that challenges us mental health wise is bullying. It is determined that more than a third of U.S. adults are bullied either in their environment or where they work. Bullying is there's 6 or 7 different types, and no matter what the type is, bullying is never okay. It's never harmless. It's not something that people just do as a joke or whatever. Bullying is harmful, and it should be taken and thought of as a source as such. Another thing that people don't talk about in terms of mental health and your work environment is domestic violence, and we touched on that a little while ago. Um, Domestic violence, even though it's can be a physical assault on the body, it takes a toll on a person mentally. If you're in an environment where you're constantly um, uh, having to watch everything you say or watch things that go on, you become more and more anxious. And then as that anxiety builds up, the chances for you to have accidents become more and more increased. And it's difficult being able to manage your daily life along with your professional life when you are a victim of domestic violence. Um, Domestic violence victims, what we say is that the most um, stressful time for a domestic violence victim is the time when they determine or decide that they are going to leave the abuser. That's because 75% of all domestic violence victims who are killed after they decide to leave their abusers. So for women or men who are domestic violence victims, having a plan for escape, having a plan to remove yourself from the situation makes a really big difference, makes a big deal, and it can be the difference between life and death. If you have any questions in regards to anything that we went over tonight, please feel free to leave your comments. If you have any subject matters that you would like for me to go over, also leave that in the comments. And I answer all comments and I'll get back with you just as soon as I can. Thank you for joining me tonight.